actually was where we were headed right there.
Ooh.
You kind of helped us to segue into the next part, which were setbacks, struggles with purpose. Like, do you feel like the quarantine affected your purpose? Do you feel like now that you've reached your 30s, your purpose has changed or need to change? Also, what Brandon just said, like being stuck in a purpose. Like, what are your thoughts on these different kind of setbacks?
I thought I was stuck in mine. Like, when I was working for the links, like I started to get, my purpose and everything started to kind of get distorted because I was being overworked and underpaid. And it kind of like, I was like, what am I doing? Like, everybody has warned me about this, about this field of social work. And I'm like, I always thought that I could handle it and be good because I've always been a very strong person in that sense of I didn't let a lot of things really bother me in that. But it kind of got to me. And, when I had the incident with my one client, I knew I had to go. I had to go. I felt that this wasn't for me anymore because I let it take me to a place where I wasn't proud and I was going to put my hands on somebody's child, like, hard. Sherelle knows what I'm talking about, but I don't, it's not that I lost what my purpose was. I just, I needed to revamp it. So, at that point I was just lost because I was no longer with that job anymore. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? This is what I've done my whole life. Like, and in my mind, I just couldn't go back to working and doing right now, especially with that age group because of where my mind was. And, and then I got into a different aspect of social work. I started working with addicts at the Suboxone Clinic, and I fell in love with that portion of my of social work. So it's not that I lost my purpose, it kind of got shifted, and it got shifted in a way that I thought I was good where I was. And then I found something that I love even more, but I can still work within that age group that I like. I just am not working in that aspect of it. I'm working in more of addiction than counseling. So, which I could do both at this new portion of social work. So for me, it's not that, I left my purpose. It just kind of shifted. And, quarantine is putting a damper. It's like, that fly that you can't just, you want to smack and you keep missing it. And it's like quarantine has really put a damper in everything because of school. Like, I graduate in May of next year with my bachelor's in social work. And I'm like, at the time that I needed to not be so difficult is right now, because it's my senior year and they're talking about changing a lot of things. And, so,
Yeah.
But I'm still following through with it. I'm still going to do it. It's just going to be different.
Brandon, you sure on those different topics and the question that you asked and your thoughts on setbacks and
Well, first thing I think about when being stuck in your purpose, it's probably a simplistic thought, but I think about Mr. T, because this man's like 70 years old and he still has to have the mohawk and wear the chains and have like the dream catcher earring, because if not, then he has
Nobody
a problem.
knows who he is.
Right, like you can't. Right, you can't. He can never change that up. Just like Slash is gonna always have to have the long curly hair and the hat, or else it causes a problem career wise and everything else. Like Mr. T is gonna have to look like Mr. T till he dies.
That's so funny.
Right, and like I mean, it's what it is. Like he does even now. He does like commercials every now and then, appearances. He's lucky he didn't. I mean, maybe he wears some like sort of hairpiece now. You lucky he didn't go bald in the middle. Like you can't.
Brandon,
You gotta stay
bring
there.
up a good point. That still kind of pertains to where we are in our subtopic. Like, what if your purpose isn't a trend anymore? And I kind of, you're like, what if it isn't a trend anymore? You know?
I mean, it's not a trend, but he also, I mean, he has to stay that way because he has fans and stuff.
I don't think he got lost in his purpose. I think that is his purpose. Like he's
to be
living
Mr.
in it,
T.
he's walking
But-
in it every
Right,
single
he
day.
is. But if he ever would decide, you know what, I'm tired of this. I want to do something else.
He can.
Yeah, but that's everybody else's issue, not his.
I understand,
Yeah.
but like, have you ever seen an actor like play a different role and you're like, nah, you don't play that role. Like you're a funny guy. You're not.
Yeah, you know,
guy.
but it's true.
Yeah, but they always do such a good job when they
A lot of
do
times
it,
they
though.
do.
Like,
But that also
Yeah,
can be discouraging. You can technically you can always change, but it can definitely be discouraging if you've done something so long. You're like, well, I might as well keep going in this.
I think something that happens very often as far as getting lost in your purpose is the mindset of I can't do it until this happens.
That too.
I can't get to this part until I have this much money. I can't, get whatever until I get this thing happen. Like everything is being held up by one, thing or another, preventing you from making that thing happen. People will go years and years
Excuses, yeah.
never getting married because they need to have enough money to be able to do all of that, and not knowing how much it's gonna take to do all of that, and then they never get married, and then they end up getting left. Like those are examples to me that I've seen in my life with the people around me or my friends and stuff, where like that's the main thing to me of getting lost in your purpose, like letting something else hold you up from getting to the point.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon, have you had started to mention about quarantine and how it affected your purpose. So quarantine and also being in your 30s, how has that affected your purpose specifically?
All right, so I kind of don't want to say how quarantine has affected my purpose because it's an unpopular opinion. And the reason why I say that is like quarantine has actually probably impacted me in a more positive way than other people. So I was fortunate enough to have a job that was considered an essential worker for my day job. And we were able to work from home. And I was like, that's awesome versus going into the office all the time, stuff like that. So being an essential worker, working from home, I'm cool with that. Plus, I'm an extroverted introvert. So I'm fine with I'm cool being out with people and stuff. Am I?
Yeah, because you're extrovert.
I'm extrovert. I'm not shy.
No.
All right. Either way, I'm cool being in the house.
Yeah.
This is awesome. I like this to me is great work. So that also allows the fact that I am working from home. That means that without having the commute time, being able to, cook at home and not spend money out or not feeling like you have to get fast food or anything like that. That's being able to help the health thing, and I can do workouts like, instead of having to go to the gym or anything like that. And then not having the commute time, all that stuff, that means I'm getting a little bit more sleep. That means that I'm able to work on projects a little differently. So that, to me, it's been a positive experience.
How has it affected with because you had mentioned your music?
The music thing, I'm able to, like I said, put more time on it. So if I'm commuting and spend an hour and a half in the morning, an hour and a half after work, traveling, that's 2 or 3 hours that, I can put towards whatever I need to do, whether that's for family or that's for something else or that's for the music.
Okay.
Being able to communicate, being able to do that, it's been awesome to me in terms of that, I guess, level of more. I know we're at home, but to me, it's more freedom I've had.
Okay.
And as I said, mostly it's been a horrible experience. I'm not trying to take away from anybody's bad experience
No, that's
with
not
this thing because there's been a lot of setbacks for folks. I just right now I can't say I dislike, I can't say I'm like, oh man, this is horrible. I can't, if I'm being honest with myself, honest with y'all, like this hasn't been my worst year. I'll say that. This has not been my worst year by a lot.
all right.
Well, God bless you.
Has being in your I didn't ask how old you were, but I guess you can tell us when you answered, but has being in your 30s affected your purpose in any way? The quarantine, has it affected your purpose in any way, or any setbacks? Have you experienced any setbacks as far as those things go?
So I will be 31 next month. So I'm just reached it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
I heard there were quarantine has prevented me from being able, like, as far as my freelance job goes, has prevented me from being able to do shows. So that side of it has been down. But like I mentioned before, I started focusing more on the business side of things, looking at how to develop contracts, looking at how to create merchandise, doing acting workshops online, because Level Up was down for most of quarantine, where I do my acting workshops. So I moved those online and work with people there. And then I took up the ukulele, which, like, because I figured, why not? I have the time. I can play 2 songs.
2 songs? Go ahead.
That's 2 more than me.
So, but it, like, as far as like just setbacks in general, as far as quarantine goes, I am an introvert to the fullest. I, even before quarantine, I didn't go out. After quarantine, I probably won't be going out unless I have work or a job or a show to do. Or if Brandon's doing an event and he asks me to come out to help, I will be there. So other than that, like, being indoors is not the worst thing in the world. When my job, and I was also lucky enough to be able to have a job during quarantine, and I do work from home. I still do. When they asked me, would you like to work from home when this is over? I said, well, I just got here, so if you're gonna give me the opportunity, I will take it. So we'll see what happens when quarantine is over. But it really hasn't slowed me up too bad. Like, I do things like this where I'm working with some of my other, like, playwright friends will be like, hey, I have a script that I'm working on. We're going to get on a Zoom and we're going to do a reading of the show. Awesome. So, like, I've been working with other people on their projects. I pulled out an old project that I did my senior year and started working on that. And now I'm starting to turn it into a screenplay. So, like, like, this has been great.
Awesome. I'm going to go next, and then we'll have Los give us his.
Los is back.
Yeah, he's back.
Don't you see him sitting down there? He look bored.
Yeah, I see him.
You bored, Los?
No, I'm just trying. I'm drinking it all in.
This ain't the topic for you.
No, I think it's like really right up my. It's like really right where I'm at in life, for real. You know what I mean?
All right,
Yeah.
so I'll go next. Well, this season has really been a transition for me when it comes to my purpose. There was a time just before the quarantine that I felt stuck in my purpose. I'm 34, so trying to
girl
make it or be famous or any of those things, that goal has shifted. That's not even a thing anymore. The goal now is to create and execute the things that are in my heart and in my mind, and I feel like that are gnawing at me. Like I said, I feel like I'm a visionary, so God gives me ideas, things I want to accomplish. So I want to continue doing that and continuing to build the quality in those things, but as doing it to try to make others feel a way about it is no longer a thing anymore. So I had to shift when it came to that. So that is a thing. And then when it comes to, so when being in my 30s, it was like, oh yeah, okay. Now the focus is and the purpose is, okay, I want to start a family. So I have to start kind of moving and shifting in a way towards seeing that happen and building that legacy. Also, the quarantine. So like if we mentioned the quarantine, it actually ended up being a nice transition for me. Like I miss performing, and I actually did one of the first shows that I had yesterday in Waynesburg, PA. Performed from 6 to 8 last night. It was so much fun, and it showed me that I missed performing. But I'm loving that I get to utilize my other gifts when it comes to entertainment, like doing this podcast. I love doing this podcast. I have a lot of fun doing it. Like I always wanted to be like a talk show host growing up. So like this kind of puts me in that realm, and I wanted to challenge myself and being more transparent as well. So this kind of sets me on that path of doing those things. And then like
Mother love.
TikTok videos. Well, the TikTok videos, I won't lie, prior to quarantine, I was in a burnout stage with performing and singing, and really all in all, it was the business aspect of things, because it's so draining, and it can be so hurtful at times when you're dealing with the business aspect of music and entertainment. So I was like really at a burnout place, but doing the TikTok videos reminded me that I love doing this. Like I love entertaining. It's fun. Like I'm good at it. I enjoy it. So quarantine kind of brought me back to my first true love in a sense. And I'm able to utilize my gifts and purposes in a different way. And I'm glad I had this opportunity just to take that pause, a much needed pause that I didn't know I needed, and do different things. Because I did reach a place of, like Brandon mentioned, where you become addicted. So people will always be like, girl, you're so driven. You always doing something. I'm motivated by you because you always got something going on next. No, I'm like really just addicted to doing it. To perform.
You don't know what else to do. You don't know what else to do with it. Like you with your time.
Right. I don't know what else to, like but it became, I remember it becoming a toxicity. My relationship with it becoming a toxicity. So this was a much needed reset, much needed break. It brought me back to my first love. So that's what I have to say about it. All right, Los, we got a couple questions for you, so be ready.
Dang.
All right, so the first thing is, what are you doing? In what ways are you walking your purpose when it comes to family, when it comes to career, et cetera, et cetera? What ways are you walking in your purpose? And then once you answer that, we'll go into what the setbacks you may have experienced, maybe being in your 30s or maybe dealing with the quarantine, how you're dealing with those setbacks.
So I'm starting to try to develop a sense that my purpose is pretty much the same as everybody else's, and that is to just make the world better. You know what I mean? I had a cousin who passed away, and I was saying to, maybe a family member or a friend, but I would just say to that family member, the world is that much whacker. You know what I mean? Like now that she's gone. You know what I mean? Like the fact that she's gone is just like, damn, like if the world sucked before she was here, before she left, it's really whack now that she's gone. And I just like, you know, even before that, just thinking to myself that my purpose in life is just to make the world better. And everybody's is the same thing to me. I just feel like you just got to find your way to do that. I realize that I'm the type of person that's able to connect with people by expressing myself. So like through art and just being able to talk to people, from all walks of life. So I think more than anything, like my I try to break myself down to my lowest or to my most common denominator and just expression, writing and stuff like that, which then leads into talents, which could potentially lead into goals. You know what I mean? And so I guess like really my purpose is to, like I said, make the world better in my way, which is to connect to people through expression.
Awesome. What about when it comes to family?
Um, I think that's the same thing. It's just like leave the world a better place. So, I'll try to use my influence to make my family stronger and in some way leave the world a better place through my son. You know what I mean? Like, basically, I think you can't get into troubled waters when people are your purpose. For me saying to like when I say that people making the world better is your purpose, I don't want to mix that up with being attached to any specific person. You see what I'm saying? Like I was saying to my therapist one time that like, I feel like my purpose is to just be here for my son and make sure he's cool. You know what I mean? Like, and they was like, well, what if your son just dies? Just like, what would your purpose be then? Like who are you without your son? Who are you without your family? You know what I mean? Like, would you still be content with making the world a better place if you weren't connected to those people? You know what I mean? Like, and if those are the things you have to evaluate for yourself. Like, could I be an island unto myself and still make the world a better place? You know what I mean? Like, just through putting positive vibes out. I think sometimes in this society, you get to a point where people attach their purpose to commerce. You ask somebody, what do you do? If that person were to respond, I'm a good person, you'd be like, well, if you don't get the fuck out, what do you do? You know what I mean? Like, what do you produce? Do you make things? What do you do for your job? Are you contributing to this economy in any way? If they were like, nah, I just put out good vibes, you'd be like, boy, sit your ass. If you don't go get you know what I mean? I'm gonna fill out an application for you. But like, imagine if people did focus on that. Imagine if people focused on literally putting out vibes that made the world a better place, and then they went and made $1. You know what I mean? Like, how much better would the world be? You know what I mean? Like, and imagine if people could do that for people that aren't connected to them in any familiar way. Like, you don't gotta be my mom or my auntie, my sister, none of that. I'm gonna just make your world better. That's what I was purposed to do. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm going. That's kind of the direction I want to get in life. And, whether it's, whatever endeavors I pursue, I'm hoping that those endeavors make the world better. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay, good answer. What about setbacks? Has being in your 30s caused you to shift your focus, change your focus? Has that been a setback at all for you? What about the
yeah, but I feel like it's all external. It's all like you're racing against time. And so you think maybe because I'm 30, I can't have the impact, you know what I mean, that I would have had in my 20s, or maybe I missed my mark, such and such did it by the time they were 18. So I didn't do it at that time. So, but it's just life is long, really, when you think about it, particularly when you're not living in your purpose. Life could be long as shit. So I think that if you think about it in those terms, like, as long as you yet draw breath, you have an opportunity to make the world a better place. Even, there have been people on their deathbed who have been able to give people perspective. You know what I mean? Like, imagine that. Or babies who are stillborn, who, make somebody think, man, I got to make better use of my time, because life is so short. You know what I mean? So I don't really look at age being one of those things. As far as the quarantine, I feel like the opposite of you. I feel like, man, I can't wait to get out and perform again. Like, god damn, I love performing. You know what I mean? So that has definitely been daunting, but it made me slow down and develop or nurture relationships that were crippled at one point. Me and my dad, over the past 6 months, really have developed a relationship that I thought would never be where it's at right now. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm talking about like, you know, it's almost like I got a brand new father. It's crazy. And he was, you know, he was around, but we was doing our own thing, you know what I mean? And, you know, history in the past type shit, you know what I mean? Like, you know, but the quarantine has made me slow down and, you know what I mean, kind of nurture those relationships a bit. You know?
That's dope. That's dope.
So,
All right. This just came to mind as we were talking about setbacks and purpose. Do you think that death could be a part of purpose?
yeah.
One death.
Look at George Floyd, man.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy.
Yeah, like I really think some people are here to impact the world, and sometimes even their death can be a part of that narrative. Like
Yeah.
and then maybe it isn't on a scale of impacting the world, but maybe it's impacting your circle. I know, like for when my uncle passed away, not the one that just passed, but my uncle who was kind of close to my age, he changed me forever. Like I was set on a whole different course. Each person in our family was set on a different course at that point.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes your death can be even written into your purpose and the others around you, or even sometimes on a grander scale of impacting the world.
Hey, look at Batman.
Yeah.
Hey, when I was Martha and Daddy Wayne dying.
Okay.
And
Look,
Hey.
let's go with him. He did.
He did just.
Yes, Gotham is real. It's in New Jersey. I synced it on the map.
I thought it was in Chicago.
Yeah.
No, it's in New Jersey. I'll send you a picture. It's in New
really,
Jersey.
because I could have swore it was here in Pittsburgh.
I synced it.
The last episode, the last one, they were at Heinz Field.
Nah, see, that's the wrong Batman. See,
That's the bomb Batman.
But anyways, I also like, yeah, I definitely believe that, because I look at
the DCE almost used.
these like if you look at the DARE program, like the DARE program was made up from mothers who have lost their children to drunk driving. And now it was their sole purpose to make sure that nobody else had to go through the pain that they went through. And they have experience through that program, which, you know.
Brandon?
You bring up Gotham.
their program didn't work. It got more kids curious about drugs, and that's why they had to cancel it.
That's not, you can't just say it didn't work.
It didn't work. They already did studies on this. It didn't work.
It made me not want to use
it. Sure enough
I
didn't.
got you, but like kids, they used to come in with that briefcase full of drugs, and people were like, I only thought there was weed. There's all of this.
The briefcase full of flour.
Yeah, no, man. Whatever it went from being a kid knowing about 2 drugs. Now there's 50 of them, and it just went, you know.
The same thing happened with the abstinence.
Yeah, abstinence issue. But also, I remember them showing us like full videos on how the cocaine process.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so you just showing us how to make it.
No, I didn't get that, but my favorite was the images of what happens to you before and after meth. Those are
right. Those were the most impactful, because I'm like, what?
Right.
This is your brain on drugs, and you see that scrambled egg.
Yo, But they did studies on it. More kids were curious about drugs after Dare. That's why it's no longer a school program.
I sure enough wasn't. I was like, I look like that. Like, oh no.
Did they make you wear? Did they make you wear the drunk goggles?
Oh, the drunk goggles were fun.
Heck no.
Right.
That was a good game.
Heck no. Anybody else on any thoughts on setbacks, being addicted to your purpose, being stuck in your purpose, death being part of purpose? Anybody got any final thoughts when it comes to that before we move on? Okay. Well, our next topic, this might be our last one unless we think of anything else to add in, but what was some advice that was given to you pertaining to your purpose? We want to hear about some positive advice and some negative advice and how it affected you.
If you want to be somebody and you want to go somewhere,
Here we go.
you better wake up and pay attention.